Greetings, initiates. Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. Today, I wanted to go over an extended model of reality. So you've seen my previous model of reality, or the model of the mind, which I'll put up here in a couple minutes. But I wanted to kind of expand on that based on recent advancements and my understanding of how the mind works, how the world works, how the universe works, you name it. Um, Stay tuned, subscribe to this channel for more content on the mind, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, everything around that, and adding more stuff now as well. So I want to give a disclaimer for this video because this is going to go into some pretty woo-woo, bizarre topics. And if you're not like in alignment with that type of thing, if you just want to like go only what's in front of you exists, that's totally fine. This is probably a good place for you to hop off the video because you're going to get offended. If you come from a specific religious background, you'll probably be offended because I can categorically say at this point in time that no religion has it right. Every religion is false. And so if you come from like a very rigid religious background, this video is absolutely going to offend you. No, nothing against you personally, but your belief system is wrong, and I'm here to set the record straight. So eventually I'll create my own religion to actually teach people this stuff. But for now, just understand, if you're not coming at this with an open mind, you're going to be very ticked off by the things that I'm saying. And so that's true regardless of what religion. So you'll see some similarities with different religions for sure, because like different ones got little pieces, right? But if you're just set on your way is the only way, then probably not good for you to keep watching the video. So anyways, so let's go ahead and look at the previous model of the mind here, or well, it's still the model of the mind, and then I'll kind of show the extended model of reality and how everything fits together. Okay, so you're seeing in front of you basically the model of the mind. This is the model that I created probably about 8 or 9 months ago. This has been the underpinning of all of my work. Everything has boiled down to this. Basically, I work on the trauma layer, I work on the belief layer, and I remove those problems, and everything else resolves itself. Like you name it. Like I can fix one belief, and there's a domino effect that changes everything in your life, from your emotions to your thoughts to your actions, your habits, everything. And then I rip off the trauma layer, and basically that heals you and gets you back to where you should have been without that trauma having taken place. Now, this is still, like I said, absolutely true. Everything still boils down to beliefs and traumas in terms of the mind, right? Like if you just have mind problems, there is literally nothing on the face of the planet that cannot be fixed with tweaking those two things, right? Like I've been able to fix things that are not supposed to be fixable by doing that. Now, here's where things get really extremely complicated. The mind is not the only thing that's going on here, right? There is an entire spiritual world that exists. And like I said, this is not coming from a specific religious standpoint, right? This is from my own experience, my own actually boots on the ground working with this stuff, actually seeing the structures and the layers that are put together, how they're put together, why they're put together, how it fits into the overall model. And this is what I've been able to come up with. So I'll start kind of like top to bottom, left to right, starting with structures, then layers, then problems. And then I'll kind of expand your view on how the world actually works. And you'll see why I do the things that I do in terms of helping people, in terms of the problems that I can fix, and how it all fits together. So first off, we have God, right? God is the highest of all things. And we don't really understand what that is, right? From my studies of physics, I believe it has something to do with electromagnetism, right? Either the electromagnetism is the source of God, and basically electromagnetism is the highest level, or God is sentient and the source of electromagnetism. Doesn't really matter for our purposes here what it is, but you could call it source, you could call it the universe, you could call it God, you could call it any one of a number of names, but there is some force that exists that is in all and through all and all of these things, right? The creative force, which I believe has at least some element of electromagnetism to it. And it's integral to the work that I'm doing. At first, like I didn't realize that my work was spiritual, but now I'm fully admitting that my work is absolutely spiritual, which is why I'm like in the process of creating my own religion around this stuff, because nobody else actually got the real picture, right? So this is to say there isn't um whatever you believe about God is probably not correct, right? So that's why I had this disclaimer, because you're going to see the word God and your mind is going to put all of these interpretations on it from your own religion or your own background, and it's probably not true, right? Okay, so just take that at kind of face value for now. Just like there is a force that underpins everything of who we are, what we are, our entire existence as human beings, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. Now, below that is when what actually starts who we are, right? Our spirit, kind of like the highest part of our soul, which is basically just our free will, right? You could say that if you believe in free will. Some people don't, right? Some people believe in fate. But basically, our ability to choose one thing or another is its own faculty. Basically, it's kind of like the highest part of the soul. Now, going down in structures, we have the actual like physical components of what the soul is structured as, right? So first off, I'll get into kind of the actually I should probably just go ahead and go through the layers here, because otherwise you're just going to be confused, right? Okay, so in terms of actually how the soul is structured, first off, you have these non-structural parasites, right, which are actually not part of you. Like when I fully heal you, all of those will be gone, right? So they don't actually technically exist as part of the soul, but they're there because they latch on for one reason or another, right? And then you have your beliefs, right? Which is what this thing that I've been calling is the binary coding of the soul, right? Zeros and ones. And that is like converse to say like DNA, which is quantum coded, which is 4 digits. The soul beliefs are binary in nature, right? It either exists or it doesn't exist. It's true or it's not true. It's possible or it's not possible. And that's the realm of beliefs, right? And that's a much different thing than what most people call beliefs, which are like really deeply ingrained thoughts. So just understand that my word for what I'm calling beliefs is actually not what most people call it. And there is nobody else on the planet apart from me and the people that I've worked on directly that actually understand that layer exists and how powerful it is. So just take that also with a grain of salt. Like I said, you're having to go out on a lot of faith here, which is understandable. This is totally like off the deep end level stuff, but just bear with me for now. Right. And then you have your identities, which is actually a subset of your belief, right? So it's basically, who do you see yourself as, right? So let's say your beliefs are 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 0, right? That's like your set of beliefs, right? And then your beliefs actually gain some level of self-awareness, some level of sentience, and then you actually start believing things about yourself, like I am a person, I am a human being, I exist in this place we call Earth, right? So you start to actually develop an identity, which actually breaks down to these like zeros and ones, these digits, right? And so basically, the identities are a subset of these beliefs, and it's just basically things that you believe about yourself. Who do I say that I am is your identity, right? And you can have multiple of these, and it's that's kind of a huge different topic. Anyways, so as we go down the list here, we have the soul body interface. Now, what this is that you have a physical body and you have a spiritual body, right? You have your soul, which is entirely energetic, and you have your body, which is basically entirely physical. Now, somehow those have to connect together, right? Like Legos, like they snap together. And how this happens, from my research and from what I've been able to understand, is that the chakras, the 7 chakras, from the crown chakra to the root chakra and everything in between, are those buttons where your soul connects to your body, right? The reason why those are energetic centers is because that's the snapping together of your soul and your body. That's how your soul controls your body, through those chakras, but those chakras themselves are subservient to beliefs. Okay. Now, as a result of this soul body interface, you have different perceptions of things, you have different memories, like that color your experience as a human being, that help you remember stuff, that help you perceive the world around you. It's kind of like your model of reality, right? And that's more of how your model of reality interacts with internal and external feedback from your senses and from your subconscious, right? So technically, your beliefs, all of your beliefs together, are your model of reality. But in the soul body interface between your soul and your body, which is where the chakras live, is basically how you perceive the world. So if you think that the world, like it's raining right now, the reason why you think it's raining right now is because of internal or external input from your senses, like the sound of rain, the sight of rain, the smell of rain, right? And then that goes into this kind of intermediary realm of your memory and your subconscious. And then it accesses, okay, what is this thing falling from the sky, right? It's rain. And then that kind of like is how you understand the world, right? And you can call on your memory of like, okay, this is what rain is, this is the precipitation cycle, all of this, different sciences behind it. But this is like the interface between the two. And then finally, you get down here to the bottom, which you have your body, which is what everyone is familiar with, and you have your emotional layer. And this was when I first created my model I just showed you, the model of the mind. This was my major point of contention with all of the rest of science, which was that they think that when they get rid of your emotions, all of the problems are gone. And the reality is that your emotions simply point to a problem in some or one or multiple of the other areas here that I have listed out, right? If you don't have emotions, it means one of two things. Either there's not a problem, or somehow you turned off your emotions and there's still very much a problem, and you just decided to ignore the warning of that problem, right? And so there's actually some very dangerous modalities out there that turn off your emotions and make you think that you're fixed and you're really not. But my point is that emotions are like the fire alarm. And so a fire alarm means there's a fire. So you can either choose to put out the fire, or you can ignore the fire and turn off the fire alarm because it's annoying, right? So it's really your choice of what to do. But just know that modalities that only work on the emotional layer and none of this other stuff are not actually fixing you. So that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Okay. So now let's actually talk about the problems that can manifest on these different structures and these different layers. Now, first off, you can actually be cut off from this divine energy, this divine source, this electromagnetic thing that goes through all of us. If you're a Star Wars fan, you might think of it as the Force or something, but it's not like organisms. It's actually a force that exists. And I have to reemphasize, this is not based on a specific religion, right? This is not like you have to become a follower of this certain prophet, or you have to, live on this mountain in the Himalayas or something to access this. This is something that's always there. And eventually, once I kind of create my own religion around this, I'm going to actually explain how this works and how to interact with this. And you just bear with me for right now. This is like totally off the deep end level stuff. So just take it at face value, right? One of the problems that originates is basically you're cut off from the source energy, right? Now, going a layer deeper than that, you have the problems with your spirit, which is basically your will, right? That's all that is, right? Which is that you could refuse your divine calling, you could be egotistical, you could be, focused on yourself, you could be narcissistic, you could be like you're just not disciplined, you just don't want to change, things like that, right? It's basically entirely about your choices, right? If you make good choices, there's probably not a problem with your will. Or if you're like a terrible person, like a personality disorder, things like that, that's will problems right there. All right. Now, going a layer deeper, we have these non-structural parasites. When I first started working on this stuff, I only really acknowledged the existence of trauma, and I wasn't really sure what layer to put it on. So I just kind of like attached it to everything, right? But through the work that I've been doing, I've understand that the trauma removal that I do is actually spiritual in nature. So I've been able to say that this is probably part of the soul, something that attaches to your soul based on circumstances that happen to you. And then there's these other things called imprints, which are probably equivalent to karma, you could call it, potentially equivalent to curses, depending on like what background you come from. But it's basically when someone else's psychological imprint attaches itself to you, right? Their entire reality becomes part of your reality. And I'll, make more, at least one more, if not multiple videos on how and, what that is and all that stuff. So just acknowledge that it exists right now. It's not sentient. It's just there. It's like putting sunglasses on, right? From someone else's psyche. And then we have actual demons, right? So in the course of my work, I've had to do exorcism on at least a dozen, maybe 13 or 14 or 15, I lost count, specific demons with specific names, with specific reasons for being there that have attached to specific people for specific outcomes, right? Like they're actually sentient, they're actually malevolent, they actually are aware of themselves, and they are there to like screw up everything in your life and like cause hell, basically. And I've been able to get rid of them, but just understand that those are basically the difference between an imprint and a demon is one is sentient and one is not, right? Of course, like I said, this is all like totally deep water stuff. So just bear with me. I said this video was not for the faint of heart for a reason. This is like beyond woo-woo level stuff here. So, okay. Now we have going one level deeper, we have the beliefs, right? And like I said, those are the binary coding of the soul. You could have coding that's missing, right? You could have coding that's like holding you back. You could have coding that's outright wrong, right? So let's say you're coded religiously, a lot of your coding is actually false, right? Let's say you're a normal person and you just have self-doubt. Well, then you probably have limiting coding, right? You have limiting beliefs. And then some people just don't know the right way to do things. It's like, okay, then your coding is absent. You just don't have, the success programs that you need or whatever, which can be added, right? So that's kind of like the breakdown of beliefs. Now, with your identities, these are actually separate from personalities. So just be aware that they are actually two very separate things. So your identities are what you believe about yourself, which could actually become self-aware, and they could take over control from your main self, right? Totally separate from personalities, and I'll explain that in a second. It's very, very, very fine line that what the difference is. But basically, they can become too powerful, and they can overwhelm your main identity, right? What your main beliefs about yourself. And where this happens, especially, is in, say, like religions and the military, where they create a new identity and that gets like transplanted over your main identity. So let's say the Marine Corps, you go in as a normal person, you come out a Marine. That's an entirely different identity that they implanted through repeated trauma, basically through their training program, right? Same thing for religions. You go in, aka a sinner, right? And then they traumatize you and do all this crap to you. And then you come out as, say, like saved, and now that's a separate identity, but none of it is actually real. Okay. So then I said I was going to offend you. Let me make good on my word here. Right. All right. So the point is that identities are what you see about yourself. Now, going down to the chakras, so like I said, those are the buttoning of your soul and your body together, right? It's how they interface, basically, the interchange of information between the two. And depending on different factors, your faculties can become cut off. They can be imbalanced, which if you're familiar with chakras, you probably know about things that can happen with them, but you don't actually understand why they happen. And most of the work that people do with chakras is actually just like not actually correct, because they don't understand all of this stuff. Like their model is totally wrong as well for different reasons, right? So let me offend the rest of you. Probably of all the people, all the religions who got things right, the Hindus were probably the closest, but they only got about 30% of it right. So 70% of what they believe is like totally wrong. But at least they're aware of some of this stuff like chakras and whatnot, whereas most people aren't. Now, going down one step deeper, you have perception and memories, right? So there's basically two main problems that I've seen with this from working with people. which is that one, you can have multiple personalities, and two, you can have a non-personality segmenting. Now, multiple personalities is where is like an entirely different person is created by your mind to handle some base level of reality, right? Maybe your life is traumatic or life sucks or whatever. It creates another personality to handle that. There is no interface of information between the two personalities. Like they'll have different memories, they'll have different perceptions, they'll have different beliefs, they'll have all this different stuff. Whereas with identities, it's basically more like you're sort of in control, but it can still overwhelm you. But another personality is like a whole different you, right? And it's not a demon. It's not attached to you. It's actually part of you, but it's just a lot more say like sentient and more self-aware than say like an identity is. So it's like very, very difficult to kind of like define that, but I've been able to fix it. So I'll work out the theory, but just know I can fix it. And then you have this other thing, which is like a part of your brain, a part of your hard drive gets like cut off from the rest of it, and there is no interchange of information, so you can't access your memories or your perceptions or whatever for a certain period of time. But it's not so self-aware that it's its own personality. It's just blocked off, right? So it's like if you just can't remember something, if you can't like a time period of amnesia, that's kind of what that is right there. All right. And then finally, you have emotions, which I touched on, which is like emotions themselves just point to problems above the chain. And like the rest of science only says, okay, emotions are what we are. There is no soul, there is no God, there is none of this stuff. And therefore, if your emotions are fixed, you are fixed, right? And that's total quackery, right? Because they just give you pills that numb your emotions and they say you're fixed, and then like people on medicine go out and like shoot people, right? So that's not the realm that you really want to go, right? So this is probably a long video. I've just been talking and talking and talking. I have no idea how long I've been talking, but this is just a massive amount of information that I've discovered over the last couple of months. This is experiential, right? This is not me coming up with random theories about bullcrap like most religions do. This is me actually working with people, seeing what energy structures are in place, what physical structures are in place, what like fixing one thing leads to another thing, and like understanding the map of like who we are, what we are, how we fit into this. And basically, I may not have the details 100% worked out here. I'm still kind of like maybe moving things around from time to time as I get more data, but this is absolutely the most complete model of um, our soul, our mind, our body, the universe, what the problems are, and all the things that I can fix with my work and have fixed over and over and over the things that I do. And this is just basically everything that's evolved from trying to fix problems in my clients on different levels. So I'm sure you'll probably disagree with 90% of the things that I've said, probably 95 or 99%. It doesn't really matter. And I'm sure those of you who I said don't watch the video probably did anyways, and now you're offended and now you're going to make all kinds of comments, but I don't really care. I'm here to say the truth about the universe. And as I experience more things, I'll add to this model. But you can basically either choose to accept the truth or deny the truth. And if you deny the truth, it doesn't really matter to me. That's you and your life. But if you have an open mind, if you're willing to see that the world is a little bit more than you thought it was, and reality is not quite the way that we're taught and not what you thought. And if any of this resonates with you, drop a comment, get in touch with me somehow, because this is the thing that I'm doing, right? Like this is the work that I do. And not only do I know more about this stuff than anyone basically that's ever been on the planet, but my knowledge base is growing on a weekly basis. Like 2 weeks from now, this may be like twice as big. Who knows, right? I'm expanding as I go because like my understanding is just deepening and deepening and deepening from actually working on people on the soul level, the mind level, and now getting into the chakra stuff on the body level. Um, it's I can do things that nobody has ever been able to do. And here's kind of the some of the points that I look at behind the scenes so that I can actually see what problems need to be fixed. So like I said, if any of this resonates with you, feel free to leave a comment. If you're offended, too bad. I'm not responsible for your denying the truth. You are. So take it or leave it, basically. And then if you want to learn more, you can find me on Facebook, links below in the description. And other than that, just stay tuned for more videos on the channel, and we'll get to talking. All right. Bye.